Hey guys, today it's just me. I just want to let you guys know that I created this parenting series because I've been the mom just like struggling with the title and everything that comes with motherhood. What I want you to get from this parenting series is just like a laugh and commiseration. Parenting is really hard, and I've been there, and I'm just going to be brutally honest with my experiences, and hopefully along the way you guys can feel less alone, and maybe you can look at your own kids. You're like, I've got it easy. I'm sitting in Rosalee's room, which is appropriate because I'm going to continue Rosalee's story. In my last parenting series video, it was about my NICU experience. I'll go ahead and link that down below if you guys would like to watch it. So from there, we were leaving the NICU and we thought we were done with doctors, but we were wrong. So, Rosalee graduated from the NICU. Hooray, hooray. She came home. She was still so tiny, so cute, and so cute. She was like not even 4.5 pounds. I think they were waiting for her to be like 4.5 pounds, but she didn't quite get there, and they sent her home with me anyways. I was there like every day at the NICU, so I think they like build up some sort of trust with me, like, okay, she's not quite the weight that she's trying to be, but we'll go ahead and ship her home to mom. Mom's very active in the baby's life. She was seriously so small. We had her in preemie clothes, which, so you have like newborn clothes and then you have preemie clothes, and she was still like, the preemie clothes were big on her. She was so small. And it was kind of nice though, because you could just like, carry her around. I had one of those wraps. Is it called like Mamaroo or something like that? I had one of these wraps. She didn't even like snuggling up close to me. I feel like the NICU ruined her for that. She would just like be like this in the Mamaroo, and I would just cart her around pretty much wherever, so I could feel like, I felt like I'd been missing her. She'd been in the NICU for a whole month after birth, and I just wanted her to be with me. So it was super nice though, because I could carry her around for like hours and not even notice. She had a 4-hour sleep schedule already, because the NICU is very much like schedule, like every 3 hours we do this. So when she came home, I would not wake her up to feed. She's like so small, and maybe I should have, but she's fine, so whatever. She would sleep like 4 hours and then wake up. And for me, I had never had a baby before, and I was just like, I need my sleep, because the whole month before, when she was in the NICU, I got a solid 8 hours of sleep. So this was like totally weird, totally new. 4 hours was like a huge inconvenience to me. I was feeling, I talked to my mother-in-law, and she's like, oh, that's good, and I'm like, but is it? Like, are you kidding me? This is good? This doesn't feel good. Rosalee would spit up so much. I think she had some sort of like colic or reflux, because I'd feed her, we'd like do a really good job burping her, and then sometimes she'd just like, I would put her over my shoulder, and just the contents of her entire belly would throw up onto the floor, and I'd hear it splat on the floor. It wasn't just like a little bit up. It was like everything that was in her stomach. I was so surprised to know that she was like gaining weight, because she didn't seem to be holding any food. I was like, how are you growing?
Hey babe. So I took Rosalee downstairs to take some Tylenol because she's been acting weird. And she gagged. And so I ran through the doorway, and look what happened. Doorway. Ceaira. What are you doing today? Haven't gotten anything done. That's okay. I think I'll just take care of Rosalee. It just makes me want to cry though. Shh. just isn't holding things down very well today. It's gonna be okay. And I get through it.
So we got to do some really nice things with her since we finally did a newborn shoot because we weren't able to do something like that in the hospital. It was super cute, loved it. She did not sleep at all like lots of newborns do. She was like, except for no smiling. And we got to do Christmas with her, which was really nice. She was born in November, so we missed Thanksgiving with her, but we were able to do Christmas, which was really nice. It seems silly, but you know, you want your babies to participate in holidays and family traditions with you, even if they're like way too little to remember. We were just living life with a new kid, trying to figure out how to be parents. My parents wanted to go to the beach for spring break, and so we went ahead and went with them. We hadn't spent like a ton of time with my parents. I feel like when you have new kids, unless people come to your house, we hardly did any traveling. Rosalee hated the car seat. I mean, hated the car seat. I don't know why, but she just would scream the whole time. The whole entire time. So we decided to go on a beach trip with my family. And while we were there, you know, the grandparents were interacting with her. My dad is actually a pediatrician. He doesn't live very close to where we are. And I don't know if you're like supposed to practice medicine on family members. I don't know, but he's a fantastic pediatrician. He started to notice that Rosalee wasn't really, she was like 4 months old by this time. She wasn't really like moving her head too much in one direction, and her head was like becoming a little bit misshapen, and Dad was asking if like she slept only on one side of her head at night. And to be honest, like I still don't even know for sure. There's lots of like new baby monitors where you can like watch your kids sleeping, but I can't say that I did that, and I can't say that I did that to remember which side of her head she was sleeping on. I feel like I started to tell Curtis, like, man, she seems to only like to put her head this way, but I don't know for sure. Anyways, so my dad unofficially diagnosed her with torticollis, and that her head plates were not symmetrical or shifting in the right place. And I was just like, ugh, like, great. Like, I just got her back from the NICU. You can't help but feel like you did something wrong as a parent, like you weren't as aware of things as you needed to be. So my dad showed me a couple different ways you could hold the baby, because torticollis is like that they've gotten so used to sleeping only like with one side that it's too tight for them to really like loosen up. They can't do like chin to shoulder. Except for on the one side, and sometimes torticollis is really bad. Rosalee's was like pretty bad, but not awful. Like she wasn't stuck. Like she could move her head, just not as much in the one direction. We also even like propped her up in bed so that her head would naturally roll to the opposite side of what she was used to, because it was too tight. That way she would like be forced to loosen it up. We just kind of like tilt her a little bit in her bed, using some sort of prop or a pillow or something. But yeah, super scary. So then as soon as we get back from this beach trip, I mean, this was like a week-long beach trip. My dad noticed like the first day, and so from then on we had kind of been trying to work with her. So I went back home after the beach trip and talked to my pediatrician, because I don't know what to do. Like I am not familiar with this area. I've never had a kid in this area. So I go to the pediatrician, I say, hey, my dad's a pediatrician. I don't mean to step on your toes, but he noticed that she didn't really turn her head the one way. Her head plates are a bit misshapen. You could like kind of tell that her eyes were just like the teensiest bit off. And the important part is that her ears, like one was a bit farther back than the other one, and then also like a little bit lower. It wasn't super dramatic. You can tell, I have to put in some pictures. You can tell that like one side of her head was like a little bit higher up and like straighter, and the other side of her head was like more curved. She did not look like a freak, and so it wasn't like terribly obvious. But when I went to tell my pediatrician, He made me feel retarded. He took Rosalee from me and told me to go stand in a different part of the exam room and to kind of like get Rosalee's attention. And Rosalee did turn her neck to look at me. But like I'd said, we had been working and working and working with Rosalee to get any sort of range of motion that she did have. And I tried to tell him that. I was like, look, I see that she is, turning her head. She wasn't doing that before. We've been working on this with her. And also her head, like plates, they don't seem like symmetrical. And the thing that my dad was super worried about is when babies are little or littler, Rosalee was 4 months, their head plates shift all the time. They have that soft spot, when they're first born. But after a while, like my kid, Margot, she is a little bit over a year, she no longer has a soft spot. So if the head plates aren't symmetrical, you have like a short period of time to fix it in a way where it will fix like quickly. My pediatrician was like, yeah, but even up to 3 years old, their head plates still shift and change, which is true. It's like at a snail's pace. Like it's like trying to modify an adult person's head. Like it hardly shifts at all. I went away from that feeling super frustrated. I needed to build up some sort of rapport and some sort of trust with a pediatrician in my area because I have my dad, but at the same time, he's not here. Like he's not where I live. He cannot physically examine Rosalee, and so I had to find someone who could and who I could trust. So I ended up going to a different pediatrician, and he immediately noticed also the ears. My first pediatrician didn't talk about it at all, but he noticed the ears and how her eyes were a little bit lopsided, and he gave us a referral to a place that did cranial development. It was like 2 hours away, but still, and he said that we're probably gonna have to get a helmet. And then he also gave us a referral to a physical therapist, and we went to the cranial specialist and came home with this. She did need a helmet. I was so pissed off. I was so mad that someone who had like a medical background, who had gone to medical school, both wouldn't listen to me or my dad, who had the same qualifications as him, and ignored my concerns, tried to make me feel like I didn't have any valid concerns. And with a different person, we're gonna need a freaking helmet. Like, what? The cranial specialist explained like Rosalee's head was not like the worst case that they've ever seen, but it was asymmetrical, and you worry about things like bike helmets fitting right, you worry about things like brain development, because if your head is like smaller on one side than the other, you have two halves of a brain that both need to develop. And I think, I'm not for sure because I'm not the specialist, but I'm pretty sure that if your head, like the hard part, is too small on one side and larger on the other, then it affects which part of the brain can grow. So that was really scary. And you know what I did? I went and freaking reported my first pediatrician to the state medical board. I have no idea what came of it. This pediatrician was not necessarily like an awful pediatrician. I think he seemed to be decent, but whatever, like he was not up to date with this. He was not up to date with knowing whether or not kids needed helmets, whether or not their head shapes were beneficial for brain growth, and I wanted him to learn from his mistake. Heaven forbid that if I don't say something, another mom has the same exact issue, maybe even worse than Rosalee, and the baby has like brain issues because of it. Like, I couldn't be responsible for that. So instead I felt responsible for teaching this doctor a lesson. I'm not sure. I was talking to my dad, and he said that he probably would receive a fine and maybe have some required classes. And I'm like, that sounds great. I don't want to ruin this doctor's life. I just want him to learn. I want him to be up to date. I don't want anyone else to have to experience what I experienced. So we got this bad boy when Rosalee was about 6 months old. This thing's supposed to stay on 23 out of the 24 hours of the day. You can only take this off to clean it and to wash your baby. So clean your baby, clean the helmet. And that's a lot. This thing smelled like it smelled fresh. And I don't even think Rosalee's head sweated that much, but it was in the summertime. It was in May that we got this. She's about 6 months old. Let me just say, trying to snuggle your kid is like, oh yes, so snuggly. And yeah, let me kiss your head, you know, like just reach past this. Let me just, and then like kissing the front part of their head, you're just like, and their little eyes are just like peeping out the top of this, and you're like, it was a tough thing. And then people like in person would be like, oh, your baby's so cute, even though she has a helmet. Like, shut up. Like, I know that my kid has a helmet. You don't say something like, oh, your kid's so cute even though they have ADHD. Like, no. This is a serious issue. We're fixing it. Then they'd be like, you know, you can decorate that, right? And that's totally true, and sometimes it's super cute. This is expensive enough, this little cute helmet here. It's expensive enough in its plain white form. And I was not gonna pay someone to decorate it. I could have probably decorated it, I don't know. Ooh, if you have a kid that might need a helmet, put moleskin in the inside, right, especially around their ears. I think that they did it in the office for us. Don't attach it to the baby's skin itself. Attach it to the helmet, and that should help any like rubbing. I mean, your kid's having to wear this like all day long. There will be some like chafing and some like dry skin and weird stuff and lots of cute smells. I think Rosalee was in this for like 6 weeks to 2 months, and I was so glad that we got her in the helmet when we did, because like they're growing so much, her head plate's shifting so much within a short period of time. The longer you wait, the longer it takes for their head to shift enough to become symmetric, enough to fit in bike helmets, or if they're like a soldier, you know, Kevlar helmets, whatever they're called. Anything to protect their head, you want them to fit in it. Football helmets, you know, you want their head to fit and be secure in the helmet. She got used to it and she slept with it. So if you know, have the position and one of your kids needs one of these things, just do it. Just stick with it. That way the kid gets the head shape that they need, and they'll get used to it faster. Yeah, we were so glad to have caught it when we had.
This video is not promoted or sponsored in any way. I wanted to show you this thing really works. Let's look at the front of her face. Her features, her eyes are more centered where they were, just kind of pushed over to the left. And now the back of the head is curved like it's supposed to be. The eyebrows have moved upwards on the right side. You can tell that it didn't used to be like that. This is a good view. You look straight down, you can see both of her cheeks, whereas before it was kind of, you can tell on the one side her head was literally pushed forward to the point of where you couldn't see it anymore. And then this last one is like if you stuck a pencil through her ears. Before they weren't aligned at all, and now they actually are more closely aligned. Same with if you stuck the pencil through the mouth to the back of your head, like all of the back of her head was kind of pushed towards that one side, that left side, and now it is more centered along that line. It's not perfect, but you can definitely tell there's a huge difference.
This is my story. This is my story about Rosalee's continual medical attention and the helmet, the stinky helmet. And yeah, if you want to hear about my experience in the NICU, or my really awesome labor and delivery, or my experience being pregnant with Rosalee, it was all dramatic. It's all been like a lot of work. done a lot of work. And if you want to hear about that, check out the other videos on this series, my parenting series. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.